As we know, many football players take on a different personality on the field from the one they really have off it. Generally, they do this to inspire fear or get their opponents off their game, and some have actually been quite successful in doing so. One of the most emblematic cases is that of German goalkeeper Oliver Kahn. If you want to know this legend's story, be sure not to miss a minute of this video because we know you're gonna love it. Now let's get right into it. Oliver Kahn was born on June 15th, 1969 in Karlsruhe, Germany. As a kid, he was different from the rest. He was a loner and didn't really care to make friends with other children. He was so different from other kids that his favorite hobby was mowing the lawn and doing household chores. His mother, a bit worried by his attitude, encouraged him to go out and make friends that he could play with, but it was something that just didn't appeal to him. The only times Kahn got out of his house was to play football with the neighborhood children. Ever since he was a kid, Oliver Kahn was known for his obsession with perfectionism, making him very self-demanding. From that point on, football became more than just a hobby for him. At the time, Oliver's role model was goalkeeper Sepp Maier, and he was willing to do anything to follow in his footsteps. And by the way, Maier was also German. His family was really surprised to see his passion towards football, since they believed Oliver would go for a military career or a similar profession. Well, they were wrong. Young Oliver did choose to serve his country, but in a different way. From the age of 10, he decided to fully pursue football until the day he went pro. Oliver Kahn was a hard worker and self-taught player. He loved to train on his own as a goalkeeper, though his coaches would advise him to try other positions as well. But his dream was to become a world-class goalkeeper. He began his journey in the world of football as the goalkeeper of the lower divisions of his hometown team, and years later he would debut with his first team in Bundesliga in 1990. In the 92-93 season, he won the former UEFA Cup, currently the Europa League, which made him get the attention of the big European clubs. 2 years later, he arrived at Bayern Munich, where he would be the team's goalkeeper for many years. But things weren't all sunshine and rainbows, because as we've mentioned so far, Oliver Kahn was a perfectionist and obsessive workaholic. And as we all know, too much of anything is bad. Probably due to this overwork, he suffered an ACL injury that kept him from playing for 6 months. Just imagine how Oliver, who lived for football, must have felt having to put up with 6 months of rehab and rest. In fact, according to the German goalkeeper himself, those 6 months were the worst 6 months of his life. But during those months, he had a lot of time to reflect and realized that he had a lot of flaws that he needed to work on. And ironically, working too much was one of those flaws that he had to eliminate if he wanted to achieve the position of the world's best goalkeeper. As a matter of fact, Oliver Kahn was so methodical and dedicated to his work that he studied physical training for goalkeepers, which gave him the knowledge he needed to return to the field even stronger. Oliver then made his debut with the German national team in 1995 in a match against Switzerland. Here, we see another setback that this goalkeeper had: his relationship with the coaches. Although Oliver Kahn had basically unanimous support from all the German fans, the different coaches didn't like the way in which he drew attention to himself. The differences between him and the coach of the German national team, Berti Vogts, was so strong that for the 1998 World Cup in France, Oliver didn't get to be the starting goalkeeper, as Vogts gave the position to his second goalkeeper, Andreas Köpke, something that sparked the fans' anger. Never before had there been so much support for a German player. And the fact is that for the Germans, Oliver Kahn was not only the #1 goalkeeper in the country, but also the greatest player. He even made a very interesting comment about this: "I'm a goalkeeper and I defend not only the goal of the stadium, but the goal of the whole country. When an opposing player crosses my zone, it's as if he were breaking into my house, as if he were invading my property, where my wife and daughter live. I'm the man of the house, and so I defend my team's zone and my team's goal with my life." If you ever saw Oliver Kahn play, you'd know perfectly well that these are words he actually lived by. In fact, on the field, he often went overboard with extremely hostile attitudes that were borderline unsportsmanlike, which no doubt appealed to a lot of his fans. Later, in the year 2000, and after winning a series of titles with his club, he was voted the best German player of the year and the best goalkeeper in Europe. So there weren't any excuses for Kahn not to be the first choice goalkeeper for the German national team. In 2001, he won the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich and was considered the best goalkeeper of the league, not to mention that he became the hero of the Champions League's final match against Valencia of Spain that went to a penalty shootout where he saved the game-winning penalty. There was no longer any doubt that Kahn was #1. He had been waiting for 4 years to take his revenge for being a substitute in the 1998 World Cup in France, and now he had the opportunity to be Germany's starting goalkeeper in the 2002 World Cup in Korea and Japan. In this occasion, Kahn would go on to secure his place among football's greatest stars. But Oliver let that old perfectionist attitude he had when he was younger get the best of him. He was the captain of the team and was respected and admired by his teammates. But the passion he had for football made him see this tournament not just as a sport, but as a war between countries, something the team didn't quite like. Germany was just one step away from winning the World Cup and had to face the all-powerful Brazil in the World Cup finals, which at the time was stacked with superstars like Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo, and Kaká. Unfortunately for the German goalkeeper, the desire and eagerness to win the World Cup brought back his perfectionist and overtraining attitude. So what was expected to be a night of glory for Germany turned out to be a disaster in which Brazil was crowned World Cup champion, in part as the result of a crucial mistake made by the German goalkeeper. Oliver Kahn made the following statement: "Making a mistake is always disappointing and painful, but it's 10 times more so when it happens in a World Cup match. I can't find any solace, I should have caught the ball." But usually enough, despite the mistake that had the whole world see that day, Oliver still had the support of football fans. He was even the most voted player for the title of the World Cup's MVP, something that came as a surprise to many, not because it wasn't deserved, but because it would have been the first time in history for a goalkeeper to win the award. Fast forward some time, Oliver Kahn fell into a terrible depression that almost made him give up football completely, but his wife and daughter's support made him realize that he had been too hard on himself and the team. He learned that losing the World Cup didn't mean he had lost a war for his country or something like that. And so 4 more years passed and the chance to play in another World Cup came again, but with the added incentive that this event would be held in his country. Oliver Kahn had already defended his team's goal for many years, so he wanted to defend it for the last time in his homeland. Even though he was considered a seasoned player, he had the fans' support, as he was still in great shape. But the problem wasn't his physical ability. The problem was that there was another top-class German goalkeeper, Jens Lehmann. The German team's coach at the time, Jürgen Klinsmann, didn't really care about the player's attitude or track record. He was more focused on the player's current state, which is why he chose to give the opportunity to the backup goalkeeper instead of Oliver himself. Of course, as expected, Kahn didn't like the decision at all. Fortunately though, instead of getting mad about it, something pretty much everyone expected, he accepted the decision very maturely, understanding that it would be in the best interest of the team. He then became a sort of secondary coach to Lehmann and would often be spotted advising him when he had the chance. On the other hand, Oliver Kahn was undoubtedly a role model of sorts for the team's youngest players, who just couldn't believe that they were sharing a locker room with such a legend. Just having Kahn in the house was a motivation for his teammates. Germany reached the semifinal of the tournament, losing 2-0 to Italy. In a gesture of sportsmanship and admiration, all of Kahn's teammates, including starting goalkeeper Jens Lehmann, asked the coach to have Kahn lead off the match for 3rd and 4th place against Portugal so that he could say goodbye to the German national team and the fans who had supported him for so long. Germany ended up winning this match with a score of 3-1, with an outstanding performance by Oliver Kahn, winning 3rd place for his country. But Oliver Kahn wasn't the only one retiring from his national team. This World Cup turned out to be the end of an era, since alongside Oliver, players like Luis Figo, David Beckham, Ronaldo Nazario, and Zinedine Zidane also retired from their respective national teams. The German goalkeeper was already in the final phase of his career and ended up retiring in 2008. He currently runs a company called Goalplay, which manufactures goalkeeper gloves and trains promising young players. He's also president of the club where he started his career at and got his chance to shine, Bayern Munich.